Hey there, Altenew friends, it's Jaycee. Welcome back for another perfect pairing. I'm probably the last person to jump on the Slimline card train, so let's take a look at the Nature Blossom stamp set from Altenew Summer of Fun July release and make some Slimline cards. Okay, so first let's talk about slimline cards. There's no standard size for this kind of card, but slimline cards are what will fit inside a number 10 business size envelope. Generally, that's an envelope size of 4 1/8 by 9.5 inches at any big box office supply store. I made my card bases to be 4 by 9 inches to fit inside a number 10 business envelope. I took an 8.5 by 11 inch letter size 110-pound note card base, cut it down to 8 by 9, and made a side folding portrait card by scoring at 4 inches. I also made card fronts with 80-pound white cardstock cut to 4 by 9 inches. Up first is the Nature Blossoms 6 by 8 floral stamp set. This layering bundle contains the stamp set, mask, stencil, and coordinating dies. For my first pairing, I'll use the older Monochrome Washi tape featuring these freeform watercolor florals. I'm sticking with jewel tones for this card, so I'm pulling out the Sugarplum and Fall Harvest family of crisp dye inks from Altenew. All of the Altenew materials are linked in the description box, so make sure you check that out. Also, if you have any questions about the items used on any of my card projects, shoot me a comment and I'll get back to you. With the monochrome washi tape, I'll stick down the individual flower clusters onto scrap white cardstock panels. I'll use a Teflon bone folder to burnish the washi tape onto the cardstock, and once I have enough floral clusters, I'll fussy cut the flowers, leaving a narrow and uniform white margin. I'll set these floral elements aside and work on the Nature Blossom stamp set. I'm going to mimic the free-form watercolor look of the monochrome washi tape for a more cohesive appearance, as if the two products were meant to coordinate perfectly. Again, this is the Sugarplums and Fall Harvest family of inks. In my stamp positioning tool, I have the outline stamps inked and stamped with pale mauve. Then I'll also stamp the second detail layer in pale mauve. I'll align and stamp the last detail layer in amethyst. Finally, I'll stamp the solid layer in rose quartz, which is actually from the rose petal family of inks, but you can also use the second generation stamp of pale mauve to get a similar look. Up next are the leaves. I'll first stamp the outline images in butternut, followed by the solid layers in butternut. Then I'll align and stamp the second detail layer in pumpkin pie. Finally, I'll stamp the last detail layer in yellow ochre. As for the centers of the flowers, I'll use pumpkin pie to stamp the first layer, then yellow ochre to stamp the final detail layer. For the last layer on one of the flowers, I'll use Sicilian amber for the center. By stamping the outline layer in the same color or a similar color as the solid base layer helps give that full watercolor look, which in turn will help mirror the watercolor flowers on the monochrome washi tape. Using the outline layer also helps align every subsequent detail layer, so it's important not to omit it from the layering process. Okay, so after drying that back a little bit, I'll use the coordinating Nature Blossom dies and my mini blossom die cutting machine to cut out all the images. I'll set the die cuts and the monochrome washi fussy die cuts aside and work on the background to my flower arrangement. I've brought in an 80-pound white panel of cardstock cut to my note card base of 4 by 9 inches. I'll use this Winter Fog watercolor brush marker from Altenew's Autumn Harvest set to create splatters. I'll squeeze the brush to let out a little bit of ink onto an acrylic block, dilute the ink with some water, and add splatters using a watercolor brush. I love this color because it's sort of a rosy taupe that coordinates with the rest of the color palette on this card. After gluing this splatter panel to my side-folding slimline card base, I'll begin the assembly of all of the floral elements. To be honest, I've never made a slimline card prior to this one, so you're witnessing the layout process in its entirety. Not only do slimline cards have more real estate, but I faced the additional challenge of stretching the floral layout. I wanted a full floral bouquet that still flowed like my standard A2 cards and still had some geometric elements like triangles. I found that the best shape that fit within the slimline card was a rhombus, so you'll see that theme reoccur throughout my card projects. I layered the flowers in a way so that there weren't large clusters of purple, yellow, or blue in any spot. I tried to keep it organic looking and evenly distributed. After gluing down all the flowers, I planned the placement of my sentiment. I stamped the included Nature Blossom sentiment on gray cardstock and made a sentiment banner. After foam mounting the sentiment banner, I finished the card with some acrylic jewels for this cascading, romantic, jewel tone floral card. For this second perfect pairing, I sort of realized this after the fact, but Nature Blossoms and Grateful Heart Stamp Die Mask Stencil Bundle is one of the examples included in the Nature Blossoms trifold. But prior to that, one of the blooms in Nature Blossoms stamp set reminded me of the layering floral in Grateful Heart. The layering style and the illustration style of both flowers were similar in my mind, so I knew that this floral bouquet would be a beautiful pairing. Layering instructions for both the flower and foliage images can be found in the packaging trifold, so I'm simply following those directions for all of the flower images. First up, I'm stamping the Nature Blossoms flower in permanent black for the outline, Deep Blue Seas for the petals, and Raw Collection for the centers. Then I'll use Red Sunset for the petals of Grateful Heart, permanent black for the outline, and Raw Collection for the center. Finally, I'll stamp all the leaves from both Grateful Heart and Nature Blossoms in Seashore with permanent black as the outline. I forgot to film the additional white flower, but I used Raw Collection and permanent black for that image. I die cut all of the stamped images, including this additional uncolored outline image from Grateful Heart, and set them aside to work on the background. With a new white 4x9 panel of cardstock, I did some direct-to-paper inking with the mixed media inks from Altenew. I wanted to highlight and create a color complement background to the seashore foliage. To do this, I brought the ink pad directly to the paper and created these uneven streaks of color. I love the pigment, chalky finish of the mixed media inks. I thought it helped balance out the rigid black outlines of the florals and foliage. Because the mixed media inks stay wet longer, I was able to roughly blend the border where Frosty Pink and Coral Berry met. You can let that air dry, but I quickly heat set the mixed media ink with my heat tool. I'll add my forever favorite jet black ink spray to create black splatters all over the background before gluing the panel to my note card base. Like the previous card, I experimented with another diamond or rhombus arrangement. Instead of the arrangement aligning parallel to the vertical sides of the card, I tilted this one slightly so that it's still a rhombus, but it lies on a 30-degree axis. Since there are many more individual die-cut elements to this arrangement, I pre-planned the entire placement. I'm never shy about cutting apart die cuts so that I have more control over where they fall along an arrangement. I'll cut apart some leaves and the outline image from Grateful Heart in order to get the bouquet that I want. And once I'm happy with the plan, I'll use Glad Present Seal to pick everyone up and apply glue to the back before adhering it permanently to the card front. I foam mounted the most foreground white flower using craft foam. Then I'll finish this card with this hello sentiment from the handwritten hello die set. This set has a shadow layer that I cut from vellum, and the fine hello layer that I cut from black cardstock. That's the end of this second Playful floral bouquet using Grateful Heart and Nature Blossoms stamp sets. This final card is a little bit more graphic and bolder than the others. If you're looking for a more gender-neutral or masculine edge card, this last perfect pairing may be more suitable for you. Again, here is Nature Blossoms stamp and die set, and for this last perfect pairing, I'm using Paint of Flower Paeonia japonica. This is the July 2020 Paint of Flower. This large floral cluster will take care of a lot of card real estate, which is why I'm using it on my background. I'm grabbing another 4x9 panel of white cardstock, and I'm stamping the floral cluster onto it with obsidian pigment ink. I'll make a quick mask, rotate the stamp, and stamp the same image on the bottom half of the card front. I'll add a bunch of black splatters to this background to help break up the symmetry of the background using jet black ink spray again. As that panel is drying, I'll pull my Nature Blossoms stamp set back out and only stamp the outline images in obsidian pigment ink. Then I'll take the final detail layer of all the images and stamp it in permanent black ink. Before putting this panel away, I'll use the remainder of the space to add my sentiment. I'm using the Mega Label Love sentiment stamp set and stamping the Happy and For You labels in Velvet Crisp dye ink for that traditional red embossed label look. For the final element of this card, I'll cut a black fine frame from the largest fine frame diamond die in the set. I'll keep both the positive and negative pieces from this die cut as it will help align the positive fine frame onto my card front. So here are all the die cut flowers, leaves, and fussy cut labels. I'm using the negative piece of the fine frame and centering it on my card front. I align the points to the grid on my Altenew cutting mat and used a ruler to help center the diamond along the 2-inch mark of my card front. Once that is perfectly placed, I'll apply glue to the back of the fine frame and glue it just outside of the negative piece. Now I can just remove the negative black cardstock, and what I'm left with is an exact center-spaced fine frame diamond. Before gluing down the flowers, I decided to add a bold black outline to the die cuts to help it stand out against the Paeonia japonica background. I used the Altenew artist marker in jet black on top of a scrap piece of paper. Then I foam mounted the flowers and red labels on top of the background, and that finishes this bold black and white slimline card. I hope you loved these 3 slimline floral cards using the Nature Blossoms bundle. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite or of other Altenew favorites that you would like featured on this series. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe for more paper crafting content and tutorials. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hello there! Are you still looking for project ideas and card making inspirations? Well, if you are, look no further. We have tons here at the Altenew YouTube channel. You can also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that we do upload. To help keep your creative juices flowing, we have a couple more videos that you can watch here too. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye bye!